The incredible collection is from the now closed Roy Rogers and Dale Evans Museum.
I was a duck run cowboy, you might say, because I had a little horse from the time I was, well, my first horse was a mule.
When it comes to Western music, very few people have influenced Americans as much as Roy Rogers. The King of the Cowboys performed in numerous films during the 40s and 50s. Much like other Hollywood legends, he even had an entire museum dedicated to his illustrious life and career. At its peak, this museum attracted over 200,000 visitors annually. However, in a sad turn of events, the doors to this once thriving attraction have now closed permanently. Many fans have been left pondering the reasons behind this abrupt closure. With Rogers' family overseeing his estate and legacy, one might assume that nothing could hinder its success. But could there be more to the story? Let's delve into the life of this iconic figure to uncover the truth behind it all. Early life. Born on November 5, 1911, in Cincinnati, Ohio, Roy Rogers entered the world as Leonard Sly. His parents, Andrew Andy Sly and Mattie Sly, made a decision shortly after his birth that would shape his future path. Shortly after Roy Rogers' birth, his family sought a new beginning away from city life. In 1912, his father Andrew Sly and Uncle Will constructed a 12x50 FT houseboat using salvaged lumber and embarked on a journey up the Ohio River to Portsmouth, Ohio. Although they planned to settle on land they purchased in Portsmouth, the Great Flood of 1913 delayed their plans, forcing them to live on the houseboat for a few more years. It was during this time that Roy Rogers spent his early childhood. In 1919, the Sly family relocated once more to Duck Run, a farm outside Lucasville, Ohio. Roy's father, Andrew, worked in a shoe factory in Portsmouth, only returning home on weekends with gifts for the family. One such gift was a horse, which became instrumental in Roy Rogers' upbringing. His love for horses began early, and the gift from his father laid the foundation for his future as a Western star. Born to perform. Roy Rogers didn't stumble into fame by chance. Even before his rise to stardom, he was a standout figure in his neighborhood, thanks to his remarkable talents. Growing up in a rural area where entertainment options were scarce, the Sly family often hosted square dances for their neighbors. During these gatherings, young Rogers showcased his musical abilities by singing, playing the mandolin, and even calling the dances. It was during these lively events that he first discovered his passion for entertaining. Originally known as Len Sly, Roy attended high school in McDermott, Ohio. Though academically bright, he never completed his education. In 1927, the family moved back to Cincinnati, where his father had found work in another shoe factory. Recognizing the need to contribute to the family's finances, Roy joined his father at the factory. He attempted to juggle work and studies by attending night school, but found himself dozing off in class, eventually deciding to leave school altogether. The Sly family continued to move around, settling in Inglewood, California in 1931. It was here that Roy got his first taste of the spotlight. He made an appearance on a radio show called Midnight Frolic, where his singing and yodeling captured the attention of a local music group called the Rocky Mountaineers. The group toured various states, performing in bars and radio shows. Although their success was modest, this experience laid the groundwork for Roy's future career in entertainment. Marriage. In 1932, Roy Rogers entered into a relationship with Lucille Ascalese, whom he met while acquiring a Palomino colt named Golden Cloud, later renamed Trigger. Ascalese admired Rogers, and they exchanged vows in 1933. However, their marital bliss was short-lived. It became evident that they were not compatible, and they felt they had rushed into marriage too hastily. Their relationship soured quickly, leading to their separation in 1936. Despite the disappointment of his first marriage, love soon found its way back into Roy Rogers' life. While touring with the Obaro Cowboys, he crossed paths with Grace Arlene Wilkins in 1933 in Roswell, New Mexico. She had called in during a radio show and promised to bake him a pie if he sang the Swiss Yodel. True to his word, Rogers sang, and the two maintained contact. Following his divorce from Ascalise, Rogers and Wilkins began dating and eventually tied the knot in June 1936. The Obaro Cowboys. Roy Rogers had high hopes for a breakthrough with the Obaro Cowboys, but unfortunately, their venture fell flat. Like many aspiring musicians, Rogers faced the initial struggles of building his career. Touring with the Cowboys across several states, they gained local popularity and even caught the attention of radio stations. However, their timing couldn't have been worse. The onset of the Great Depression meant people had little disposable income for concerts, leading to the failure of their tours. Following the disappointment with the Obaro Cowboys, Rogers regrouped and sought to form a new musical ensemble. Joining forces with Bob Nolan and Tim Spencer, they established the Pioneers Trio. Later, Hugh Farr joined as a fiddle player, contributing a bass voice. During a radio performance, an announcer dubbed them the Sons of the Pioneers, a name that stuck despite their initial youth. Embracing the new moniker, they moved forward with their musical pursuits. Roy's journey to success began with music, particularly with the Sons of the Pioneers. Renamed by the radio announcer, their popularity soared, reaching beyond Los Angeles by the summer of 1934. That same year, they inked a recording deal with Decca label. The Sons of the Pioneers provided a platform for Roy to enter the film industry. While the group initially secured minor background roles in movies, Roy's standout performances eventually led to him landing minor acting gigs in Hollywood. Entry to film. As Roy Rogers delved deeper into his entertainment career, he took tentative steps into the film industry starting around 1935. Initially, he took on supporting roles, gradually building his experience. His breakthrough came in 1938 when he auditioned for a singing cowboy role at Republic Pictures. Securing the part, he made his starring debut in the film Under Western Stars, which resonated well with audiences and propelled him into Hollywood's spotlight. While Rogers enjoyed musical success with the Sons of the Pioneers, collaborating with talents like Bob Nolan, Tim Spencer, and Hugh Farr, contractual issues prompted him to part ways with the group. Bound by obligations to Columbia Pictures for film appearances, he needed to focus on his burgeoning film career. Thus, he bid farewell to the Sons of the Pioneers to pursue opportunities with Republic Pictures. Married life. In 1936, Roy Rogers and Grace Wilkins tied the knot, embarking on what seemed like a blissful journey together. However, their happiness was overshadowed by tragedy when they encountered difficulties conceiving naturally. Despite the heartbreak, they remained determined to start a family and turned to adoption. In 1941, they welcomed Cheryl Darlene Rogers into their lives, their first child and a beacon of hope. Contrary to medical expectations, Roy and Grace were elated to discover that they were expecting a biological child. Soon after Cheryl's adoption, Grace became pregnant, and in 1943, Linda Lou Rogers entered the world. Their joy multiplied when Grace fell pregnant again in 1945, giving birth to their first son, Roy Jr., in 1946. However, this period of happiness was short-lived, as Grace tragically passed away from complications shortly after Roy Jr.'s birth, leaving Roy heartbroken and a widower. Grace's untimely death left Roy devastated, facing the daunting prospect of raising 3 children alone. Yet fate had other plans. Reconnecting with Dale Evans, an actress he had met on a film set in 1944, brought unexpected feelings to the surface. Following Grace's passing, their bond deepened, culminating in their marriage. Together, Roy and Dale navigated life's challenges until his passing in 1998. They wed each other in 1947, but it was undoubtedly a tumultuous event, which was a cause for laughs a few years afterward. The wedding was held on a ranch in Davis, Oklahoma. The minister was delayed because of a snowstorm and had to ride up there on horseback. A fire also started in one of the upstairs bedrooms, which Roy and his best man put out. but it left Dale confused and wondering where her groom was for several minutes at the altar. Film success. Since his breakout role in 1938, Roy Rogers quickly established himself as a prominent figure in the entertainment industry. Renowned for his magnetic charm and musical prowess, he became synonymous with the Western genre, starring in hit films like King of the Cowboys and Son of Paleface. Holding the title of the top Western actor for over a decade, his influence endured, paving the way for future legends such as John Wayne and John Ford. Yet, Rogers' success extended beyond the silver screen. He was also a savvy businessman. Recognizing his own value, he secured the rights to his name, image, and voice in his 1940 contract. This strategic move proved lucrative as he capitalized on merchandise sales, including toys, comics, and action figures bearing his likeness. Initially signed with Republic Studios, Rogers' desire to venture into television faced resistance from the studio, who attempted to adapt his films into TV shows without his consent. Leveraging his contractual rights, Rogers intervened, ultimately parting ways with Republic. However, this setback proved fortuitous, leading to the creation of The Roy Rogers Show, emergence in television. After conquering the realms of radio and film, Roy Rogers set his sights on television with The Roy Rogers Show, a Western series showcasing Rogers as a rancher dispensing justice in the Wild West. Think of him as a cowboy counterpart to Batman. Running from 1951 to 1957, the show still boasts an impressive 7.2 rating on IMDb, captivating audiences nationwide. Co-starring his wife Dale Evans and his beloved horse Trigger, the show garnered widespread acclaim. However, Rogers' television journey wasn't without its challenges. 5 years after The Roy Rogers Show concluded, he and Evans embarked on The Roy Rogers and Dale Evans Show in 1962. Unfortunately, this venture didn't fare as well, facing cancellation before completing its first season. This setback signaled a shift in Rogers and Evans' Hollywood standing, marking the end of their reign as Western genre icons. Rogers' affinity for horses was legendary in Hollywood, with his favorite being Trigger, the Palomino colt he acquired in California. Trigger became a staple in Rogers' films, rivaling his owner's popularity and mastering over 150 tricks. Their partnership was showcased in numerous films, including Rainbow Over Texas and Song of Nevada, with Trigger even starring in his own musical film, My Pal Trigger, Hall of Fame. Rogers enjoyed widespread popularity in both the music and film industries, earning him well-deserved recognition. A notable figure in country music, he achieved a rare feat by being inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame twice, first as a member of Sons of the Pioneers and later as Roy Rogers himself. But Rogers didn't stop there. He left an indelible mark on Hollywood, too. Honored with stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame for his contributions to radio, film, and television, he solidified his status as an entertainment icon. Throughout his life, he amassed various awards, including the prestigious Golden Boot in 1983 and the Golden Boot Founders Award in 1996. As a celebrity in the 40s and 50s, Rogers had an ardent fan base, particularly among Western enthusiasts. Despite his fame, he remained humble and approachable, often receiving an overwhelming amount of fan mail, sometimes exceeding 78,000 letters in a single month. There were even reports of fan clubs dedicated to his beloved horse, Trigger, rejections. Roy Rogers faced hurdles breaking into the film industry, typical of Hollywood's emphasis on appearance. Despite his talent, he was rejected by Universal Film Studios in 1937 for looking too young during a screen test. However, Rogers defied the odds, ultimately becoming one of the most prominent stars of his time. Becoming Roy Rogers. As we've mentioned earlier, Rogers was born as Leonard Sly. So how did he become Roy Rogers? And why did he choose the name Roy Rogers in particular? In Hollywood, Studios often change the screen names of actors to get the right feel. Leonard Sly began acting with the pseudonym Dick Weston. In 1938, when he first signed a deal with Republic Studios, they bestowed the name Roy Rogers upon him as a tribute to the recently deceased Will Rogers. Charity and public appearances. Despite his immense popularity, Rogers remained grounded and used his fame for philanthropic endeavors. He regularly visited sick children in hospitals, knowing he was a favorite among younger audiences. Sometimes he even brought along his beloved horse Trigger, who was trained to navigate hospital settings and bring joy to the children. Political views. Many Hollywood stars find themselves drawn to politics after retiring from their entertainment careers, seeking to continue making an impact on society. Ronald Reagan famously transitioned from acting to become the President of the United States. Similarly, Roy Rogers was approached to run for the House of Representatives, but he declined the offer. Rogers remained steadfast in his decision, choosing to stay neutral in politics. He believed that maintaining a neutral stance was essential, as he had fans from various political backgrounds, and he didn't want to alienate any of them. The Muppet Show. Airing from 1976 to 1981, Jim Henson's The Muppet Show was a beloved television series that left a lasting impact on audiences. Known for its star-studded lineup of guest appearances, the show welcomed many notable figures, including Roy Rogers and Dale Evans. In a memorable episode from 1979, Rogers and Evans made a joint appearance as a couple, joining the ranks of only a few other real-life couples featured on the show. The episode originally aired on May 17, 1979. Sidekicks. What comes to your mind when you think of Westerns? Desert rodeos, train robberies, a hero in a cowboy hat, and of course, a sidekick. Movies back then always included a sidekick with the hero, and Rogers was joined by one as well. His sidekicks were often the same faces. He often co-acted with veteran sidekick actors such as Smiley Burnette, George Hayes, and Pat Brady, who were acclaimed by the audience as well. Food for thought. As we've mentioned, Rogers was a savvy entrepreneur, establishing a merchandising empire using his own name. However, his business ventures extended beyond just toys and action figures. In 1968, Rogers struck a deal with the Marriott Company, granting them a license to open a chain of restaurants bearing his name. The Roy Rogers restaurant soon became a familiar sight across the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast regions. Even today, as of 2019, there are still 48 Roy Rogers restaurants operating in the U.S. Racehorses. Trigger wasn't the sole equine favorite in Rogers' stable. His love for horses dated back to his childhood, and he had a knack for raising them. One of his prized horses was a racehorse named Trigiro. Much like Rogers himself, Trigiro enjoyed a moderate level of success in his racing career. Trigiro clinched victory in 13 races, among them the esteemed El Encino Stakes in 1975, an annual race held in Arcadia, California. Love for creation. Roy Rogers wasn't content with just starring in TV shows and movies, even though he was undoubtedly making a fortune from them. He took a proactive approach and decided to establish his own projects according to his vision. This led him to establish his own production company called Roy Rogers Productions, which was responsible for producing The Roy Rogers Show. Additionally, the company produced Brave Eagle, a groundbreaking television series featuring a Native American as the lead character, marking a significant step forward in representation on television. To the skies. Roy's interests extended beyond horses. While he's famously associated with horseback riding, he had a keen interest in other modes of transportation too. Roy Rogers had a passion for flying aircraft and wanted to experience the thrill of soaring through the skies. Using his wealth, he purchased a World War II-era plane known as the Cessna AT-17 Bobcat. However, he didn't just keep it as a collector's item. He also obtained a pilot's license to fly it himself. family man. Roy Rogers was a family man, and his wife Dale Evans shared the notion. While they already had a family owing to having children from their previous marriages, their boundless love did not stop there. They wanted more siblings for their children. Despite being struck with the news that they would be unable to conceive any children, they did not give up. They saw adoption as a suitable option, and hence the other 4 children, Dodie, Debbie, Mimi, and Sandy, came to be a part of a larger-than-life family. Sorrows under the smile. Roy Rogers was often depicted with a radiant and infectious smile, a trademark that charmed countless fans. However, behind that cheerful facade lay a man who endured his share of hardships and struggles. Despite being an emblem of resilience and inspiration in the Western genre, Rogers faced profound sadness and sorrow in his personal life, often catching many by surprise. His first marriage ended in failure, and he tragically lost his second wife during childbirth. Regrettably, his sorrow extended to his children as well. Loss. Experiencing the loss of their own child is a grief beyond words, a sorrow that Roy Rogers and Dale Evans intimately knew. Their daughter, Robin, passed away before their eyes due to heart failure, shattering their world into pieces. Coupled with the heartache of learning they couldn't have more children, this tragedy plunged them into profound despair. However, from the depths of their sorrow emerged a newfound compassion and an unwavering love for children and life itself. Boundless love. Although adoption faced societal disapproval in those days, Roy remained unfazed. 5 out of his 9 children were adopted, and each one was cherished and treated with equal love and care. Cheryl Darlene Rogers was adopted from a previous marriage, and after the loss of their biological daughter Robin, the couple opened their hearts to 4 more adopted children: Mimi, Dodie, Sandy, and Debbie. Like father, like daughter. Roy faced the loss of 3 out of his 9 children. His eldest daughter, Cheryl Darlene Rogers, inherited her father's adventurous spirit and passion for Western film and music. Leading an adventurous and romantic life, she shares her father's love for travel. Cheryl fell in love with her high school friend Larry Barnett, and the two eventually married. They now live joyfully, traveling the countryside in their trailer with their 7 children, truly embodying the saying, like father, like daughter, influential and inspirational. Given Roy Rogers' significant influence in the film and music industry, it's no wonder that his children were inspired to pursue careers in the arts. Among them, Mimi Rogers stands out as a prime example. Growing up in a family immersed in acting and performing, Mimi followed suit and became an iconic American actor. She's best known for her recurring roles in popular TV shows like Mad Men, The X-Files, and Bosch. Interestingly, Mimi was also married to Tom Cruise, another charismatic actor reminiscent of her father, Roy. Rough beginnings. Roy Rogers, often hailed as the epitome of charisma and confidence, didn't have an easy path to Hollywood initially. His journey was marked by difficulties and failures, partly due to his shy nature. He struggled to perform in various shows, including his own radio program. However, Roy's determination to overcome his shyness and ultimately triumph is what makes his story both relatable and inspirational. He firmly believed in himself and never gave up, turning sadness into strength. The Rogers and Evans couple faced numerous personal challenges in their lives. They tragically lost their daughter Robin to Down syndrome, and another daughter passed away from mumps before reaching her 2nd birthday. Experiencing firsthand the impact of Down syndrome, the parents recognized the significance of raising awareness about the condition. Dale Evans subsequently penned a book titled Angel Unaware, shedding light on the care and love they provided to their child. Being parents. Rogers and Evans enjoyed significant success in their careers, becoming one of the most prominent couples in Hollywood for a considerable period. They were mindful of the potential negative effects of fame on their children, fearing it could lead to them becoming spoiled. To counteract this, Rogers and Evans set a strong example as parents. They chose to raise their kids on a ranch, away from the glitz and glamour of Hollywood and immersed in the tranquility of nature. Despite their efforts to shield their children from the entertainment industry, their son Dusty still ventured into acting, appearing in 2 movies before even completing high school. Later movies. From 1935 to 1951, Roy Rogers was a household name across America. Whether it was through movies, radio broadcasts, or television appearances, everyone knew of him. Throughout this period, he consistently starred in at least 2 films annually. However, as his family expanded, he chose to slow down a bit. Although there were still years when he participated in as many as 8 film projects, he increasingly prioritized his family. This shift led him to gradually step back from the glitz and glamour of Hollywood. Riverfront Stadium. Roy Rogers isn't the only one with popular ties. His birthplace has its own claim to fame. Originally, the Sly family called a tenement building in Cincinnati home. Interestingly, that building was eventually torn down to make space for the Riverfront Stadium, a renowned sports venue in America. It's hosted numerous Cincinnati sports teams, from the NFL's Cincinnati Bengals to the MLB's Cincinnati Reds. Rogers humorously quipped later that he was born on second base, the California Ranches. In 1955, Rogers and Evans bought a 168-acre ranch near Chatsworth, California, complete with a hilltop ranch house. Following the tragic loss of their daughter Debbie in a bus accident in 1964, they relocated to the Double B Bar Ranch in Apple Valley, California, where they focused on raising their children. The Double B Bar Ranch, valued at approximately $3.7 million in 2019, was put up for sale at that time. Death. Roy Rogers passed away on July 6, 1998, at his home in Apple Valley, California. He was 86 years old, surrounded by his wife Dale Evans and other family members. Alongside his advanced age, he faced multiple heart surgeries in his later years, which ultimately led to his passing. Remembered as the King of the Cowboys, he may have departed from this world, but his legacy lives on in our hearts, cherished for his remarkable performances, musical talents, and unwavering personality. The real reason, the Roy Rogers Museum closed down. Roy Rogers lived a life as the iconic cowboy celebrity we remember today. However, there was a period when his acting career faced uncertainty due to declining success. To address this, he made a pivotal decision to secure the rights to his name and likeness, which proved to be a game changer for the struggling actor. This arrangement allowed Rogers not only to maintain a steady stream of fans from his films, but also to leverage his cowboy persona, along with Dale's, to market a wide array of products, from toy guns to lunchboxes and beyond. While The Roy Rogers Show is now nostalgically revered as a captivating mid-century program, it actually marked a kind of comeback for Rogers. Airing on and off throughout the 1950s, the show kept Rogers' name and image fresh in the minds of many children. Roy Rogers embodied the quintessential good guy in a sharp suit who always triumphed over evil, a moral lesson often missing in today's media landscape. This endeared him to countless children who saw him as a role model and admired the flashy style of his clothing and boots. The first Roy Rogers Museum opened its doors in California before establishing a more permanent location in Branson, Missouri. Since 1957, it had been a pilgrimage site for devoted Roy Rogers fans, offering a treasure trove of artifacts from his illustrious career, from flashy plastic saddles to intricately designed leather cowboy boots, and even taxidermy animals that Rogers had once worked with. A particularly poignant story involves Rogers' close bond with his beloved horse, Trigger. When Trigger passed away, Rogers kept it a secret from his family for a year. Unable to bear the thought of burying Trigger, he had him stuffed and eventually displayed in the museum. The same fate befell Dale's horse, Buttermilk, and their dog, Bullet. While controversial, this unusual and deeply personal collection resonated with Roy Rogers fans. So why did the museum close its doors? The answer lies in Rogers' instructions to his son. If the museum became financially burdensome, it was to be liquidated. After experiencing a decline in profit and dwindling visitor numbers, the family made the decision to shut down in 2009. The next chapter involved auctioning off the collection. While the family felt a tinge of sadness at seeing the cherished items dispersed, they also recognized the joy it would bring to fans and collectors. In 2010, Christie's auction house oversaw the sale of 338 items from the Roy Rogers collection. Surpassing expectations, most items fetched prices well above estimates, culminating in a heartfelt rendition of Happy Trails once the auction concluded. To relive the nostalgia, one can explore the Christie's page featuring the wonderful items from the auction.